Alaskans, wherever you are, welcome to the Must Read Alaska Show. Coming to you from somewhere in Alaska. This is the place where we talk about, you guessed it, Alaska. Where we keep the mainstream media on their toes and where we are standing up for what's right in a world run by leftists. You can find out more by heading over to mustreadalaska.com and also checking out the Must Read Alaska YouTube channel for some really great content. But first, let's get this party started.
Welcome, everybody, to the Must Read Alaska Show. I'm your host, John Quick, coming to you live from somewhere in Alaska. I hope everybody's having a phenomenal fall day. Chris weather is in the air. Man, it's sure you can't really beat a great fall in Alaska. The leaves are so beautiful. We drove from the Kenai Peninsula all the way up to the Matsu Valley this weekend for a volleyball tournament, and man, it was just like a postcard the whole way. So hope everybody that listens, watches, and reads Must Read Alaska loves it. If you want to help keep the lights on, just go to mustreadalaska.com. On the right-hand side, there's a little donate button. Every $5, $10, $100 helps keep the lights on here at Must Read Alaska. If you want to sponsor the Must Read Alaska show, just email me, John, John, at mustreadalaska.com. Election season is in the air. This year, we're doing candidate spotlight forums for really any candidate that is running for office anywhere around Alaska. Today, we have on a friend of mine, Nick Begich, who's running for Congress. Welcome to the Must Read Alaska show, Nick.
Thanks. Great to be back on with you. And it's a good time because we're getting close to the election here. We're just 5 weeks away from the opportunity that Alaskans are going to have to decide who their next representative is for the U.S. Congress, but also for a number of other House and Senate races in the state as well.
That's awesome. Well, this will be exciting to kind of get a behind the scene look on how your campaign's going. But first, let's talk about the primary because, man, what a shakeup happened. I think that it was very honorable what Lieutenant Governor Nancy Dahlstrom did, which was to pull out. But give us a little peek behind the scenes of how that played out, what that was like for you, for folks that have maybe been living in a closet or under a rock for the last couple of months.
Well, first, let me just say I 100% agree with you. It's great respect for Lieutenant Governor Dahlstrom, the way she ran her campaign, and ultimately the decision to consolidate support around one candidate was an important one, and I think it's going to help pave the way for a victory here in a few weeks on November 5th. Look, at the end of the day, we've seen what ranked choice voting can do, how it distorts election outcomes. And I think we recognize that the Democrats learned that early and ensured that they only had one candidate from their side of the aisle in 2022. We got smarter. We've consolidated support because we recognize that when 30% of people, and this is what happened in 2022, and we see it in other areas where ranked choice voting is used, when 30% of people don't rank second choice, it makes winning with more than one candidate on one side of the aisle doggone near impossible. And so, I think it's really important that we have an opportunity to contrast Mary Peltola's abysmal record in Congress, quite frankly, with policies of common sense conservatism on the right side of the aisle. And that's what we now have the opportunity to do here in the general election.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that because I think there's some ginormous, vastly different views on role of government and what a congressman or woman can do to help the great state of Alaska if they're elected into office. Talk to me a little bit about some of those key differences between Congresswoman Mary Peltola and you if you were to get into office.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the key differences is it can be best told in the form of a story. So there was a vote that came up in the House on a bill called the Alaska's Right to Produce Act. Now, the Alaska's Right to Produce Act is an act that pushes back against a number of Joe Biden's executive orders targeting Alaskan resource development. There's a member of Congress named Pete Stauber, Representative Pete Stauber out of Minnesota. He represents a strong resource development district in Minnesota that's focused on mining and has a history of responsible mining as well. And so he said, look, I see what they're doing to my district of Minnesota. I see what they're doing to your congressional district with the entire state of Alaska. We need to stop this. And he extended an olive branch across the aisle over to Mary Peltola and to our state. He introduced this bill called the Alaska's Right to Produce Act in the Resources Committee. And Mary Peltola was very supportive. She co-sponsored the bill. In fact, she voted for it in committee. But when the pressure was on, she ultimately decided, you know what? I don't like this bill anymore. Yes, I'm a co-sponsor, but I'm going to send a letter out. And she did. She sent a letter out to all of her Democrat colleagues, urging them to vote no on her own bill, a bill that was supporting our state, written by another member. And then when it came up for a vote, she didn't vote yes, and she herself didn't have the guts to vote no. She voted present after telling others to vote no. And this is emblematic of Mary Peltola's time in Congress. She's unreliable. Other members of Congress can't count on her for their vote, for fulfilling commitments that she's made to them. And, this is a problem for our state. You've got to be 100% for resource development in Alaska, responsible, of course, but 100% for resource development in Alaska because we're a resource state. The primary dollars that come into our state that have the opportunity to circulate and make their way into the grocery store and make their way into the gas station and make their way into the restaurant have to come here from somewhere else for a purpose. And they come here because of the resources that we provide to the rest of the nation and the world. And Mary Peltola has made it clear she's not for resource development, despite her commercials and ads, because when the chips are down and people count on her for support, she doesn't provide it. So that's one significant difference. Another significant difference is our views on parents' rights. Parents' rights when it comes to raising their own children. Parents' rights when it comes to understanding what's being taught in a school, what's the curriculum that's being provided to children in a school, what books are available in the library, what pronouns are used to describe their child while they're at school. Mary Peltola voted against the Parents' Bill of Rights Act, an act that would ensure that parents have those fundamental basic rights. And, that flies in the face with nearly every parent I've met in Alaska. I'm a parent, and I can't believe that another parent would vote against a bill that would ensure that parents have those rights. Mary Peltola has encouraged Alaskans to donate to an organization here in Alaska that provides what they call gender transition treatments for children. She's encouraged people to donate to that mission. I would never do such a thing. And I'll tell you, when you have a child and you realize children can't smoke, they can't drink, they can't get a tattoo. And yet here's Mary Peltola saying, hey, go donate to this organization that's going to issue life-altering treatments to children that are irreversible in many cases. I mean, these are huge differences between me and our current representative. And she runs ads that indicates that she is, moderate. These aren't moderate positions. These are radical positions. And they certainly don't reflect what I call the political center of gravity of the average Alaskan.
You've always been somebody who will talk to anybody. And Congresswoman Mary Peltola, one of the things that's been disappointing for me is, as a constituent, there's only one Congresswoman in Alaska. I myself have reached out numerous times, email, phone calls, messages, to her office in DC and to her office here in Alaska, wanting to talk to somebody about just concerns I have in Alaska. And nobody's gotten back to me with any sort of hey, we'll set up a meeting with this person so you can talk about that. And so those kinds of things worry me, that that if you're too cool to go talk to the normal person and just everyday folks in Alaska, I think that's a concern. Talk to me a little bit about your philosophy behind that, because if you are elected, you're going to be the one congressman for all of Alaska. Are you going to take phone calls from everybody or just Republicans? I think I know the answer, but I want to ask the question.
I am so available. I mean, people outside of the state, people sometimes on the campaign say, "Oh, you're doing too much." Yeah, I think the job of the representative is to listen to everybody. Don't have to agree, but the job is to listen, to understand the perspectives of all Alaskans. And that's why I come on shows like this on a regular basis, because it's really important for people to hear what I think and for me to hear what they think. In fact, I just came off of another show right before we jumped onto this one. And the host made the same comment that you just made, that they have asked repeatedly Mary Peltola to come on their show, and she has not responded. Her team does not want her out there. They're worried, that she'll say something or do something or, indicate something that's going to get her in trouble. And so instead of being a representative and being out there and sharing what her views are, she hides. And look, that may be a way that you can win an election. That may be a smart political strategy, but it's not what the intent of the job is. The intent of the job is to get questions, answer the tough questions, share your perspective on issues of the day, discuss your philosophy of governance and government. And if you can't do that, you're not qualified to be the representative. You may be able to game an election that way, but you're not representing the people. And I think that we've got to get closer to a more direct form of representation. You look at Mary Peltola, her campaign, she's received over $1 million in political action committee, PAC committee, direct contributions to her campaign. There were races that Don Young ran in the last 15 years of his time, 16 years of his time in Congress. He didn't even raise $1 million total. And she is bringing in money. 90% of her money comes in from outside the state. As of the last quarter, 60% of our money came from inside the state. And again, in contrast, less than 10% of her money to run her campaign has come from Alaskans. She's being told what to say, told what to do, told where not to go, right? And I think where your money's coming from in a campaign speaks a lot about where your loyalty lies. And her loyalty is clearly not with Alaskans.
So you were also, one of the things you did was campaign chair Congressman Don Young's, one of his last campaigns. Talk to me a little bit about what you learned from him. You're a friend of his over the years. And, do you think he'd be excited about kind of the lack of response that our current Congresswoman has towards all Republicans?
I'll tell you what, Don Young, he would work across the aisle if it was for the benefit of Alaska. But if you ever heard what he had to say about Nancy Pelosi, he used to tell a joke on the campaign all the time. He'd say, you know what, when she swears in, because he was the dean of the House, he had to swear in the next speaker. So he said, if she's the speaker, I'm gonna tell her to raise her left hand. And he said it all the time. He recognized who was with the people and who was not. And he recognized that the Democrat agenda was not good for this country. And he never caucused with the Democrats. He always caucused with the Republicans. He never voted for a Democrat speaker like Mary Peltola has done 19 times for Hakeem Jeffries. And here's the thing. When she votes, that's the most important vote that a member of the House takes, is that first vote for speaker. Because what happens is that by that vote, they're signing our state up for that agenda. And when she votes for Hakeem Jeffries to be the Speaker of the House, she's voting for Hakeem Jeffries' agenda, for the Democrat agenda in our state and in our nation. And so for her to then turn around and say, oh, well, no, I actually, I support these other things that my party is against. No, you don't. Because the first vote you took was to support the agenda that they have for our state, which is to shut it down. And Hakeem Jeffries specifically has said he doesn't want drilling in Anwar. He doesn't want to see additional development in Alaska. This is what we've seen. They've made it abundantly clear through the Harris and the Biden regime what they'd like to see with Alaska. And it's those 66 executive orders targeting our ability to access resources and develop resources in our state. And that's what the Democrats have for us. And Mary Peltola is a part of that agenda.
So you've been hitting the campaign trail. You've been talking to folks. What are you hearing from folks? What are some of their main concerns? And do they feel like they're being met by the current representation?
Not at all. And in fact, I've heard dozens of stories of people who have told me, they've shared privately with me, look, and I won't mention any names, but for folks who are out there listening, I'm sure you've heard stories like this, or maybe this has happened to you. People go down to DC and they go there to meet with the delegation. And they'll meet with staff, and sometimes they'll meet with, a member on the Senate side, and they're trying to get a meeting with Mary Peltola. Whether they agree with her or not, they're there to represent a particular group or a particular area of industry that they represent. And they're going down to DC, and they'll get a meeting with the staff and most times with the senators, right? But they won't get a meeting with our House rep. They'll get blown off. They're told, oh, she doesn't have time. How does a senator make time, but not a House member make time? And in many cases, they've been told not even staff has time to meet with them. And when staff meets with them, I've heard from several people who said staff only met with me in the hall. It was an intern that had time for me, but no one else. It's unbelievable the lack of representation that's occurring in that office. And I'll tell you what, anyone who ever visited Don Young in his office knows that he would literally skip meetings. Occasionally, he might skip part of a vote. He'd have to hustle down to the floor to get a vote in because he's spending time with Alaskans. He had a rule in his office. If you came all the way from Alaska to see me, I wasn't going to let you leave without you seeing me. That was Don Young's rule. And many people around the state have pictures with Don Young because even if he only had a couple minutes, he made time for Alaskans. Mary Peltola is not making time for Alaskans. She's making time for lobbyists. She's making time for the people who are writing those checks out of DC, but she's not making time for us. And again, whether you agree with her or not, the job of the representative is to represent the people. And if you can't meet the people, you can't represent the people.
Yeah, I think it's awesome how our two senators, we don't have to agree on everything that the senators do, but one of the things that I'll say they do well is every time I've gone to DC, they treat you like a celebrity because you're from Alaska going to DC, and whether it's meeting with their staff or themselves, both Senator Sullivan and Senator Lisa Murkowski, their office, every time I've asked to meet with them has went above and beyond and made me feel like $1 million. Same with Don Young. I've been in the meeting in Don Young's office where he's like, hold all my calls here. And I'm like, nobody. He's like, he's from Alaska. And, I sat down and had an hour conversation with Congressman Don Young in his office while his staff was kind of glaring at him as he missed meeting after meeting after meeting. And I think that is something that I hope is not lost in the noise of DC. And I don't think it is with our current two senators. And I hope that you bring a new flavor to that as a potential future congressman for Alaska, because I think it's so important that they are okay with meeting with people in their district. I think you make a good point. So,
yeah, I think people are ready to make a change. I'll tell you, we've seen since the race is consolidated on the Republican side, we've seen the polling numbers just get better and better. And about 3 weeks ago, we saw a poll that had us tied. Last week, we saw a poll that had me up 4 on Mary Peltola in the first round. So the numbers are trending our direction. We're starting to see Mary Peltola's campaign put out ads that are honestly, they're just flat out lies. And to the point where we're having to talk to attorneys and others and say, look, is someone permitted to just simply make things up? Because that's what she's doing now. That's how desperate they are to try to retain control and retain that seat. And it's going to be very difficult for them. And I don't believe that Alaskans are falling for this stuff. I mean, she spent $2 million with the most absurd ads here in the last few weeks, and we're gaining ground because they're so ridiculous and outrageous. I think most Alaskans are looking at this going, okay, this is nonsense. And it is nonsense. Mary Peltola, somebody who has spent nearly her entire career in government, has no record to stand on of achievement, and has failed utterly in her job as our single House member, has decided that the best way for her to stay in that job is to just pick up as many rocks as she can and just start throwing them. But the truth is, she's doing a very poor job as a representative. We need to replace her. She's no Don Young. She'll stand up there in the Don Young uniform, which is, to say she'll get the bolo tie on, put a flannel shirt on, and now suddenly she's the second coming of Don Young. What the truth of the matter is, when she gets to DC, her door is closed to Alaskans. She's unreliable to other members of Congress. She can't be counted on to show up to vote. She's the wrong person for Alaska.
So we're in Donald Trump country here in Alaska. As you know, you got endorsed by him. Talk to me a little bit about what that was like and how exciting that is for the campaign.
Well, it's very exciting. I actually spoke with President Trump the same day of his second assassination attempt. So he called me on that day. I couldn't believe. And he calls me up and I said, Mr. President, I'm sure you've had an eventful day. And he said, it's been very eventful, but we wanted to end it on a high note and call you and tell you we're going to support you in the campaign. And I don't do a very good Donald Trump impression, but he said, it's going to be a very big endorsement, very big. You're going to like it very much. You're such a fighter. You've always fight. You never quit. And but I was honored to have his support. And what I told the president was, I said, look, Joe Biden has issued these executive orders, 66, targeting Alaska. And we talked about some of the ones that he had issued. And I said, Mr. President, we need your help. We need your help to reverse this man's legacy in Alaska. And what he promised me, he said, day one, we're going to start repealing those orders. Day one. That was a commitment from President Trump made to the state of Alaska. When he's elected, day one, we're going to open the state up again. And I said, Mr. President, I want to be your partner in the House. And I want to find ways that we can lock in Alaska's right to produce its own resources in law so that, if the next president, heaven forbid, is a Democrat who doesn't want to see Alaska prosper, they don't have the ability to shut us down, that we remove that executive authority from them and lock in the right for Alaskans to responsibly develop the resources that we have in this state. And he agreed. He said, that's really important. And I believe Mr. Trump, President Trump, will work with me in the House to ensure that Alaska is no longer subject to the fiat wishes of a president who has it out for our state like Joe Biden does.
Amen to that. Well, 20 minutes has gone by in a flash. Talk to me a little bit about where folks can find you. If they want to get involved in the campaign, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Give us all those details.
We've got a campaign office. If you know where Serrano's is in Anchorage there on Northern Lights, we're right next to it. Our suite number is 111 around the back of the building. If you don't know where Serrano's is, we're across from Chuck E. Cheese. So you come in there, get a sign, donate, be a part of the campaign. We've got door knocking activity, phone banking activity. Go out to our website, AlaskansForNickBegich.com, to learn more, or join the conversation on our Facebook page or our X, formerly Twitter page. If you are on social media, we'd love to see you involved in the campaign. Remember that this state belongs to you. This nation belongs to you. And every 2 years, you have an opportunity to let your voice be heard and decide who's going to represent you at the state level and at the federal level. And make sure that your priorities and our priorities as a state are being properly addressed. And I want to do that job for Alaskans. I believe I'm more qualified than our current representative to do that job, and I'll certainly work a lot harder than she has in making sure that our priorities move forward and that we have a prosperous future, not just today, but for generations to come for Alaskans.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Nick, for joining us here on the Must Read Alaska show. You're welcome back anytime. Wish you nothing but success. I got to get one of those yard signs for my yard. Folks, if you listen, watch, read Must Read Alaska and you want to help keep the lights on, just go to mustreadalaska.com. On the right-hand side, there's a little donate button. Every $5, $10, $100 helps keep the lights on here at Must Read Alaska. If you want to sponsor the Must Read Alaska show, just email me, John, John, at mustreadalaska.com. Hope everybody has a phenomenal rest of their week. Until next time, I'm John Quick from somewhere in Alaska. Thanks.